Start. So welcome everyone. Mike's going to start recording. We'll just hand it over to your guys' presentation.
Hey, thanks, Steph. Hi, everyone. Rehan and I are going to speak about our work on the modeling of streamflow in the North Saskatchewan River above Edmonton. As you can see in the scene here, you can see the high-level bridge in the distance. And next slide, Rehan. We're based at the Pre-Adaptation Research Collaborative at the University of Regina. And PARC just celebrated its 20th anniversary. And PARC was established to do climate change science and impact research in support of adaptation planning. So a lot of the adaptation to climate change on the prairies is changes in water management in response to a changing hydrologic regime. So we're sitting in the PARC boardroom. Perhaps you can see there's a third person, that's Dr. Hyung Eum, who is our climate modeler. Next slide. And so PARC has been working with EPCOR since 2007, it's hard to believe. And back then when we met with EPCOR, they would give us their planning documents, and those documents would include statements like this, that they know how much water is in the river, that the flow characteristics are known. And so really, in order to know how much water is in the river based on the gauge record, you have to assume a stationary climate and water regime. So up till about then, they really hadn't considered how climate change was affecting the raw water supply. But we've been working with EPCOR since then, and with matching funds from NSERC. And you can see that EPCOR's language began to change. First of all, in a source water protection plan published in 2012, EPCOR indicated they were revisiting the assumption of a static water supply, and they referred to the work that PARC was doing for them. And then by 2014, EPCOR was saying things like they understand that the water resources are not stationary. Now, we can't take complete credit for this, but just there was so much research over the past decade and a half on the impacts of climate change on water supplies that, of course, we understand now that we're living in an unstationary regime. However, most of our work for EPCOR has not been the modeling of the hydrology of the river basin. Instead, next slide, we have been looking at the role of trees in the basin hydrological cycle. Next slide. By taking cores from old trees in the upper part of the watershed, in the foothills and the mountains, because as that diagram in the bottom right indicates, the trees are part of the hydrological cycle, and therefore when it's wet, the trees grow more quickly, and of course, the soil water and groundwater and stream are recharged, and conversely, when it's dry, there's reduced or suppressed tree growth and much less water in the system. So there is this direct correlation between the growth of the trees and the hydrology, and therefore, next slide, we've been able to reconstruct the flow of the river at Edmonton over the past 1,000 years. And this diagram is the most recent 810 years, where Samantha Kerr, a PhD student at PARC, has reconstructed the seasonal flow of the river, the warm season versus the cold season. And this reconstruction is plotted as anomalies. So positive anomalies, wet years, are in blue, and negative anomalies, hydrological droughts, are in red. And the thing to notice that prior to the 20th century and the gauging of the river, there were hydrological droughts that were much more severe and much more prolonged than has been recorded by the gauge. Next slide. And more recently, we worked with Nessa Illich in Calgary. And Nessa is a hydrological engineer with Optimal Solutions, his company. And he developed an algorithm to downscale, statistically downscale our reconstruction of the flow to weekly estimates. So we've been able to give EPCOR 900 years of weekly flow data. And here we have the annual maximum flows in the top plot and the annual minimum flows on the bottom plot. So this is a unique hydrological record. Nobody else has something like this. It's taken us many years to develop it, but it gives us a lot of information about the natural background baseline variability of this river. Next slide. More recently, work at Park, which was published last year, we looked at the sources of uncertainty in the projection of the future climate of the Canadian prairies. In this case, winter precipitation. And so, as you saw in the previous presentation, that the RCP, or the greenhouse gas scenarios, result in different projections. The climate models produce different projections, but also a single climate model run again and again and again also produces a range of projections. And that's really a function of the natural variability. So we thought, well, what is the dominant cause or source of uncertainty on the Canadian prairies? Using 24 GCMs, and this is the result we got, from 2010 to 2090. Actually, the RCPs, the greenhouse gas scenarios, are the source of relatively little uncertainty until towards the end of this century. The models are relatively consistent. The uncertainty is swamped or dominated by the natural variability in the system. And of course, this sort of justifies all the work we've done for EPCOR up to this point, because we have a record of the natural variability of this system that going forward still accounts for most of the uncertainty in the projection of future flows. And you see this, next slide. If you plot the gauge record, this is the naturalized flow of the river at Edmonton from 1912 to 2010. Winter flows are increasing and summer flows are decreasing, but these trends are relatively small compared to the natural variability from year to year and decade to decade. Really, the climate change trends are kind of masked or swamped by the natural variability. And so the obvious question that occurred to us is, going into the future, how important is the anthropogenic forcing of the hydrological system compared to the natural variability? In other words, to what extent is global warming causing this hydrological system to depart from the natural variability? And we're able to answer this question because we have the 1,000-year record of the river. And also, since Rehan has joined us and brought his capacity to model the hydrology, we're now looking at the future flows of the river as compared to the past. And I have one more thing to say, and that is our work is recognized by the Global Water Futures Program, so we have been declared an affiliate of the Global Water Futures Program at the University of Saskatchewan. But I'm going to let Rehan give the rest of the presentation because he's the technical expert when it comes to modeling this river.
Thank you, Dave, for the introduction. My name is Muhammad Rehan. I am Research Associate in Park. And the title of my today's talk is Assessing the Projection of Streamflow in the Upper North Saskatchewan River Basin at Edmonton using Mesh Modeling System. Here is the outline of my talk. I will talk about the introduction of Mesh Modeling System. Then I will talk about its component, land surface scheme it used, and then the runoff generation in the mesh. Then the case study of the Upper North Saskatchewan River Basin, the spatial and temporal changes in the input data, and then the climate change scenarios in streamflow and anthropogenic changes. Lastly, the conclusion. So now I'm starting with the mesh modeling system. So like all other land surface hydrological models, mesh is also using a land surface scheme for as a key element for the connection of global and regional circulation models with the atmosphere, and it exchanged the fluxes of the surface energy balance, water balance, and the carbon balance. So out of the lot of land surface scheme, mesh is using the Canadian land surface scheme class, and class is the second generation land surface scheme because it is only generates, it only exchanges the energy balance and water balance with the forcing file or the input data or the atmosphere. The carbon balance is it will be in the mesh soon. I think so it's already there in new classic. So mesh is calculating all these energy balance, surface balance, or water balance in the soil layers, as well as the snow on the soil and the vegetation canopy separately for each of them. And then at the end of the system, it combines and give the whole average value of the catchment. So what we are using is the standalone mesh. Why it's called standalone mesh? Because we are forcing it with the offline data. So mesh is a community model, and it is initially developed by the Petronio et al. In 2007. It is a combination of climate model as well as the climate model, I mean land surface scheme, as well as the hydrological system. So we are using climate forcing. It can be online or offline. And then these climate forcing are running the class at 30-minute time step. So class is internally running at 30-minute time step. So all the fluxes, the energy flux or the water budget, whatever is calculating in class at 30-minute time step. And then the next step is the runoff is generated in each grid and as a lateral fluxes. So the overland flow and the interflow. And finally, the water flood is running throughout the catchment to take the generated runoff out of the catchment as a stream flow. So first 3 steps are running for each grid, and the last is the catchment. The water flood is running for the whole catchment as a distributed hydrological model. So now I'm moving towards the runoff generation in mesh. So right now, currently there are 3 approaches in mesh to generate the runoff. The first approach is called Wateroff, and you can select IWF is equal to 1 in class, so you can run this, activate this module. And in this case, the runoff is generated with the internal slope of the grid. And then the second option is the PDM ROF. In the PDM ROF, the runoff is generated with the probability distribution model. And basically this model was developed for the prairie region where the water moves through the fill and spill in the, or you can also call it a pothole hydrology. The third method, the third approach is the lat flow approach, which is the combination of Wateroff and the PDM ROF. And here the runoff is generated with the probability density model, but distribution model, but the runoff moves interflow and the overflow as with the internal slope of the grid. And finally, when the runoff is generated, the whole generated runoff is moved out of the catchment using the water flood, and water flood is internally connected with the class for the exchange of this water balance with the water class. Okay, so now I'm moving towards our second part, after introduction of the mesh modeling system, how mesh works. We are now going to our case study of North Saskatchewan River Basin at Edmonton. So if you look at this digital elevation model of this North Saskatchewan River Basin, here is the stream, this red dot here is the Edmonton, where we have a stream flow station, which we calibrated. And these green trees, I don't know if it is clear to you, or you can see that these are our chronological site for our treating research, from where we are collecting the wood and then generating these chronologies. Here are some of the statistics of this basin. This basin is around 28,000 square kilometer, starting from the Saskatchewan Glacier of Columbia ice fields, passing through these rocky mountains, and finally leaves the Edmonton. And next one is the land cover of this drainage basin. So we can see here that there are some snow and mountains. The land is covered with the snow and mountains, rocky mountains here. Then we have needle leaves and grass, shrubland, mixed forest, and we have a broadleaf, and then we have a mostly agriculture area. So we need these two inputs as a spatial input to generate the drainage database of the mesh. So here is the drainage database of the mesh, which is generated in the Green Canoe Environment Canada software. And in this drainage database, we have a 278 grids at 10 kilometer resolution, and one grid is representing one GRU. So what is GRU? GRU is this group response unit which has a lot of information, and each information is in actually is a fraction, is in a tile information. So we have all the land class information in it. So here the legend shows that which land class is dominant in which grid, or how much fraction of that land is included in that grid. So here we can see that the needle leaf is the most prominent land cover of this catchment. And then we have a grassland, shrubland, and mixed forest, and then the cropland at the end. Some of the snow and glaciers here. And there are some water area, urban area of Edmonton, and the barren land in the Rocky Mountains. So now we are moving towards the input data. Dave already said that we have used a long-term daily naturalized streamflow of North Saskatchewan River at Edmonton from 1910 to 2010. Here I have plotted the hydrograph of 30 years medians for the, just I divide this, and we can see that there are changes in the naturalized streamflow, like the snow melt, with the anthropogenic, in the last 30 years, the anthropogenic changes happen, and the streamflow is moving. The snow melt is getting a little bit early, and then we have reduction in the summer flows, and there's an increase in the winter flows. If you look at the wavelet transform of this whole stream flow length from 1912 to 2010, we can see that there are some decadal variability, low frequency decadal variability, which can be a response of the PDOs in this catchment, and we have a very high inter-annual variability, very dominant in this area, which can be a possibility, a case of ENSO. If we look at the continuous wavelet transform of the spring season, which is actually after this ENSO events in winter, we can see that it is also very, this inter-annual variability is very dominant in this spring season of stream flow. Okay. So next, the forcing data, the climate data, we have used the bias corrected 3-hourly graded meteorological data at 10 kilometer resolution for all these 7 variables. So without these variables, mesh, we cannot run mesh, and we need a sub-daily, so we use a 3-hourly for the diurnal changes in the class. The historical data we have used is from 1979 to 2006, which is the combination of WATCH, GEM, and Kappa. So this is the long-term graded meteorological data is available for the mesh modeling. It is developed by the Elvis Song in 2018, and which is really available from the Federated Research Data Repository under this link. And here's the reference of this data. Similarly, the climate data is also bias corrected with this historical data. The future climate data is the 15 ensembles we have used from CAN RCM4 regional climate model under RCP 8.5 scenarios. And this data is also freely available at GWF Cuisine, our data repository. And here's this, as this data is available for the whole North America. So we have just masked out our catchment from this data set for all these 7 variables, for past as well as future, for historical as well as for the CAN-RCM4 data set. Now we are analyzing this all 15 ensembles in a way that we just define a baseline period from 1980 to 2010, and we looked at the near future from 2021 to 2050 in blue dots, and the far future from 2051 to 2080 in red dots. And when we can see that the variability in the precipitation and the temperature in these two time periods compared to our baseline scenario. So the precipitation is highly variable in the far future compared to the near future, and the temperature change is around 2 to 4 degrees in under RCP 8.5 scenario. So if we look at the seasonal changes instead of this annual changes, we can see here that the precipitation is highly variable in winter, spring, and fall season, and it is getting more wetter. So everywhere we have a precipitation is increasing in near future and far future in winter, spring, and in fall season. Only in the summer we have the both cases. We have the dry cases because this line is zero, so we have some mostly 50%. Some scenarios are below zero, some scenarios are above zero. So we have so summer is highly variable. So we can have a dry situation and we can have a wet situation in summer. So the above graphs are for the minimum temperature changes, and the below graph are for the maximum temperature changes with the versus precipitation. So next, we are looking at what is happening in the precipitation in the seasonal changes. So this is the long-term precipitation for all the 15 ensembles of CAN RCM4 under RCP 8.5. And we can see that the variability is increasing as the time goes on, and it's very highly variable at the end of the century. If we look at the seasonal changes, we can see that the summer is highly variable and there is no increase in the summer precipitation. The summer median trend is almost a straight line with value of 0.0079. So the summer precipitation is not changing and it's highly variable. So on the same scale from 0 to 600, if I plot the other seasons, and we can see that the variability is less in all these three seasons, and the spring season has the highest increasing trend of 0.6 in the precipitation, and the variability is also increasing in all three seasons at the end of the century. But before that, there is an increasing trend in spring, fall, and the winter, but the increasing trend is significant in spring only. So if we look at the extreme temperature changes in this CAN RCM4 data, so this blue line is the 60 years average of 1951 to 2010 of all 15 ensembles. And this red lines are the 2041 to 2100, the last 60 years of the century is in red line. So this is the this is the minimum temperature in the above graph and the maximum temperature in the below graph. And we can see that clearly there's a shift in the peak in the mean of this PDFs, and but the tails are not so much clear. So what we did, we plotted the PDFs of the winter and summer separately. So now the tails are very clear here that the minimum values of the minimum winter or the minimum values of the maximum winter, they are shifting at much higher rate compared to the higher values of the minimum temperature or higher values of the winter maximum temperatures. While in summer season, if we look at the summer season, June, July, August, the higher temperatures of the minimum summer or the higher temperature of the maximum summer are increasing in much higher rate compared to their minimum values. And of course, the means are shifting too. So next, I'm coming back to the model after analyzing the input data. So we have used the ostrich and PADDS algorithm for the optimization of this hydrological model, mesh hydrological model. there are some of the parameters we use from the class and from the hydrology part, the Manning coefficients for all the 12 land classes. And here is the convergence of our multi-objective function. Our multi-objective function consists of net statistical efficiency, log of net statistical efficiency, and the percentage bias. So we can see that our model is mostly almost converges towards zero around. So after this model optimization, what we got is the calibration and validation of the North Saskatchewan River at Edmonton. And our net statistical efficiency is around 0.76 in calibration and 0.72 in validation, and percentage is almost less than 5%. And we suppose that this is a good calibration using this large-scale mesh mesoscale modeling system. So once we have a fully calibrated and validated mesh hydrological model, so we are able to run the future scenarios using the 15 ensemble of CAN-RCM4 and RCP under RCP 8.5 data. Here is the long-term from 1951 to 2100 long-term simulations of annual flows of all the 15 ensemble, and we can see here that there is a increasing trend and also higher variability of this stream flows throughout the this length of the time. And if we look at the mean, if we took the 60-year median, so now we are taking the median, not the mean. So because the median is able to capture all the low and high flows variability. So we took the median of the 60 years baseline from 1951 to 2010 and the future from 2041 to 2100. And this shows that there is because of the increasing temperature and precipitation, there is a early snow melt, and there is a shift, almost 1 month shift in the peak of the future flows. Again, the winter flows are increasing, and the summer and spring flows are decreasing in the time. So if we took a closer look into the changes in the low flows of the stream flow, we have a very nice graph here. This color bar is the
be of interest to you.
The color bar here is representing each month.
They're doing, actually it's through EPCOR, I think, who's putting it on. And it's...
Somebody needs to mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So here is the color bar are representing the months, each month of the year. And we can see that the low flows initially up to the 2050 are at the end of the winter in February, March, April. And now there is a clear shift in the timing and as well as the quantity of these low flows. So the low flows now shifting towards the late winter, from late winter to early winter or fall season months. And there is a huge variability of the low flows from almost 10 to 120 meter cube per second. So now we are moving towards the changes in the high flows. Changes in the high flows, we can see that also there is a huge variability. So the minimum value is around 500 to maximum values of around 5,000 meter cube per second. This is the stream flow per day. And again, you can see there is a color shift from the late summer. This is the September, July, August, September. This is the late summer time to the early summer or the late spring time towards April, May, June. So we have this shift also from the summer high flows. Okay, so now we have changed our data and using the same model, but we have changed our data from CIMIC 5 simulations of CAN-RCM4 towards the CIMIC 6 simulations. So this is just our just the beginning of our new work. So currently we are using only one GCM, which is the MRI ECM at 120 square kilometer resolution. So for the natural and externally forced hydroclimatic variability in the upper North Saskatchewan River Basin, we have choose 4 forcing data. First one is the pre-industrial control, and this which consists of only climatology. The second one is the historical data from 1960 to 2014. The third one is the historical GHG, which includes only well-mixed GHG gas from 1960 to 2014, and lastly the natural historic, which has only natural variations, natural variability or natural forcing variability from 1960 to 2014. And when we run the mesh and we plot the mean of the North Saskatchewan River at Edmonton from 1960 to 2014, I will start from the PI control. PI control is in orange color. You can see that it has a past, which has a very stable and past historical hydrograph. So the snow melt starts around May, and then the peak comes around June, and then there is a nice summer and spring flows. So if we just add the natural variability in the PI control, so we can see that there is a shift in the snow melt time, as well as the peak is very high. So there is a huge variability which comes from the natural source, which Dave shows that the most of the variability is coming from the natural variability. Next is by adding the GHG, which is the main source of anthropogenic changes in the catchment. So we can see that there's a huge shift in the snow melt because of the global warming. There is a huge shift. The snow melt almost around end of March, and then there's a peak shift of around end of May. So lastly, historical run, which is red in color, which is the combination of natural as well as GHG. So historical run shows that it matches the natural historical snow melt time and it matches the peak of the GHG. So mostly water is goes to the evapotranspiration with the addition of the GHG gases. So lastly, Dave shows one more slide of work with the NISA Ilish. So I just plotted the 60 years medians of the reconstructed stream flow weekly flows hydrograph, and we are interested to look at how the tree rings or the tree chronologies are capturing the anthropogenic changes in the catchment. So these red for light color, orange or red colors, actually they are the different geological eras. This one is the medieval warm period. Then we have blue lines, which is the little ice age period. And then we have this maroon line when this glacier is melted from the little ice age period. And then and the last pass is in the red line, where we can see that there is a shift in the peak, and the flow is decreasing because of this anthropogenic changes happen in the catchment or because of the global warming. And finally, I'm coming to the conclusion of my talk. I think it's a very small talk. In the upper North Saskatchewan River Basin, natural or internal climate variability is the most dominant source of uncertainty in the projection of future climate scenarios. The changes in season length and extreme flood and drought events will have major impact on terrestrial, aquatic, and marine ecosystem, and so many sectors of Canadian economy. Impacts will include risk to freshwater supply due to changes in the timing of snowmelt, earlier peaks, stream flows with subsequent reduced summer and autumn flows. Winter is the driest and summer is the wettest season in North Saskatchewan River Basin so far, but with the global warming, we expect winter to be wetter and summer to get drier. And the peak annual stream flow shift to early in the spring simulation with the CIMIC 5 as well as CIMIC 6 forcings. Yeah, thank you. No, you can ask questions, please.
We'll open up the floor to questions, so just go ahead.
Okay, this is Anil. I will again start.
No problem.
Dave, it's nice to see you. And
Yes, Anil.
yeah, and thank you, Mohammed and Dave. Excellent presentation and a lot of good work. So that was one of my comment here. I just try to understand here, like when and this is where I'm always struggled in past also. Like when we select a model, like how we select a model, like we want to use mesh or SWOT or MIXI or something else. What are the consideration, like in what you have considered when you selected mesh? I just wanted to understand that.
So I will explain a little bit, maybe then Dave will also explain. So I have experience with the hydrological models, lumped hydrological models, semi-distributed hydrological models, and then the fully distributed hydrological models, and then like the mesh, which is the land, which is using the land surface scheme. So there are different types of models, and definitely it depends upon the data you have available, then the processing you have available, and then of course the last, that how much uncertainty or the complexity you can absorb. So of course if you have a catchment with less data, then definitely you choose some lumped or semi-distributed models. But if you have a catchment with a lot of data, and you are interested in these fluxes, the sensible heat changes, latent heat flux changes, if this is your case study, then I think you go for the land surface. But of course it depends upon your study. And then the question comes, like you asked this question before as well, that how to reduce these uncertainties in these models. So definitely there are 3 different types of uncertainties depending upon the complexity of the model. So if you look at the input uncertainty, so that you can only reduce with the nearest stations. If you have more nearest station, then you can reduce that input uncertainties. Then you have a model structure uncertainty, and this is the most difficult part, that where I think science has to work a little bit more, because it comes with the equations we use in the model as well as the numerical solutions of these equations, like how we are solving these equations with the finite volume method or finite difference method, or this is the model structure uncertainty. So if the model is more complex, you have a more uncertainty. If model is less complex, you have a less uncertainty, but then you have a less number of outputs.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mohammed. I think I understand all those things. So my question, I think Monterey is also here. So in earlier presentation, we saw that Monterey or UFA, they have used the SWOT model and mod flow. Mod flow, we know the integrated groundwater component, but SWOT for the surface hydrology. And now this presentation, we saw that the mesh model, and probably the data availability is not changing when 2 different organizations are working on these modeling projects. But still, everyone knows what data are available, right? So still, I have this question in my mind, that one organization selected SWOT, other organization selected mesh, and probably there will be 3rd and 4th and 5th organization. We will be seeing the presentation using different other models, right? And probably all these models are more distributed. So like SWOT also uses the land surface scheme, so the mesh, and so the MIXI and other models, right? So still I have this question, like how people are selecting these models.
I can add to what Rehan said, Anil, and I think to a large extent it's what you're familiar with. So I know SWOT is a very popular model throughout the world. MESH was developed by Environment and Climate Change Canada, and also there was much further development at the University of Saskatchewan, and this is where Rehan did his postdoc. So he came to Park with a lot of experience with MESH, and also our project, like I said, is affiliated with the Global Water Futures Program at the University of Saskatchewan. So to some extent, it's the preference of the institution. And and of the researcher. But to put a positive perspective on this, I think if we're using different models, that we should all compare our results. And of course, we'll get a much more robust outcome if we compare modeling done with different models and we get similar results.
Absolutely, Dave. This is a very honest answer, actually, I heard. and to be able to compare the results, and again, whether we are able to compare the orange versus apples, because we know there are so many assumptions, limitations, and different data sets are being used in these models. So are we able to compare the results, and whether if we compare the results without standardizing our model inputs, whether those comparison will make any sense. Just some comments here, nothing to criticize any work here.
I realize that. And like Rehan said, it depends on the objective of your study too. And we have a fairly unique objective in that we're trying to decompose the change, the climate forcing between the natural climate forcing that we see in the tree rings and the anthropogenic forcing, the greenhouse gas forcing. So we have somewhat unique perspective on this.
Yeah, no, thank you, Dave. Excellent work, Mohammed and Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any time for any further question, Steph?
Of course.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great presentation. So I guess I have two quick questions. This is very exciting. So one goes to Dave and another goes to Rehan. So for the Dave, for the slide that you presented, how you actually quantified that cascade of the natural variability versus future greenhouse gas affected GCM effects. I was wondering if you would mind a little bit like elaborating how you have kind of quantified that cascade. And to Rehan, I was wondering if you can a little bit comment how mesh model simulates low flows like base flow from the groundwater contribution. I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, I can go first. And of course, Monterey, we worked together several years ago, and we had these great conversations about how that there is both the climate variability in the hydrologic system and in the hydroclimate system and the anthropogenically forced trends, and how do we separate those. And our solution has been to look at different, rather than taking a large number of GCMs, to look at multiple runs of fewer GCMs, because the modeling centers will run their climate models many, many times using different forcings and different initial conditions. And then when they post the output to a website like CMIP5 or CMIP6, the users are only using one of those experiments, whereas we gain access to a large number of experiments. Rehan showed that he's using 15 runs of the Canadian Regional Climate Model, which is high resolution. But also, we're using multiple runs of GCMs, where some runs are just control runs, where there is no forcing, just the internal variability. Other runs are forced with greenhouse gases. Other runs are forced with natural forcing, like sea ice and ENSO and solar variability. And so we're able to distinguish between what we see as changes in the climate and changes in hydrology that are anthropogenically forced as opposed to more or less natural.
Okay, so yeah, in mesh, like most of the hydrological model, there is a big bucket at the end where when the overland flow pass, the interflow pass, and the percolation finally go to this drainage. But in mesh, we have to activate this base flow module. There are two base flow modules are present currently in the mesh model. Mm-hmm. So if we activate these base flow modules, so this is also available in the Watt class manual. I didn't remember the references. They are given in the mesh wiki website. So you can activate VFLZS. This is the one method. You can activate the base flow, and the second one is I didn't remember, but Yeah, of course, there are two methods. I usually use VF LZS, so definitely I know this one, that you have to activate base flow modules. Otherwise, it goes to most of the land surface hydrological models goes into the big bucket.
Thank you very much. I guess my question is, Rehan, that does it simulate underground processes as well?
No. You have to after these 4 soil layers. After these 4 soil layers, no, there's the water is no interaction with the groundwater and surface water interaction in the mesh. No.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much to both of you. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Monterey.
So I have a question. If someone had asked you to try to link all the best of those 2 models, Monterey's and Rehan's, how would you approach that?
Could you please repeat your question, Steph, once again? Sorry.
Yeah, so if, I think it goes to Anil's question where he was talking about which is the best. And I know there's no best, but if we had a specific list of questions, which we do have a specific list of questions that we're trying to answer and trying to select a hydrological model that pairs with water quality so that we can answer pretty much all our questions for the basin. Yeah. What are the best aspects of each of your models, Monterey's and Dave's, that you would take out, and could those be combined into a water quality model as an input?
Yeah, with respect to like SWOT hydrologic modeling for the work that we presented in the morning, our objective was not to really select by purpose this specific model for understanding groundwater surface water modeling, but mainly to elaborate how different snowmelt modules that are actually embedded within different models, maybe mesh model or maybe Mike-Shi or any other hydrologic model, how these energy balance-based modules, those are the algorithms, no matter which model is running it, it can be run within any model. We just tested the difference between these two, like temperature-based versus energy balance-based, but the rest of the processes were just like kind of conducted by SWOT. But in terms of if I want to pick SWOT, like choose SWOT, the main reason is because I'm really master of this project and I would spend much less time to learn brand new project. It's the matter of like cost and benefit analysis, how much time versus how much gain. But it depends on many other criteria in my opinion as well. And I think Rehan very well defined and answered this question. It depends on your data availability. I think nicely elaborated in that paper that how in the mountainous region, no matter whether you are using the most comprehensive or the most perhaps robust energy balance-based approach to simulate the snowmelt, or the most simplistic method of the temperature-based model to simulate the same thing, but where the data are not available, it doesn't matter, uncertainty is high. So I think the model selection comes perhaps the next, after we have a pretty good sense of how much data we have. So understanding data uncertainty is not independent from, I think, understanding model conceptual uncertainty. Model conceptual, model robustness, process simulation, algorithms, and advancements are key. But if good data are available to simulate, because just think very simplistic, it's a simple math. Good input, good output. Without good input, how we can expect very good magic output, even if you're like having really detailed, high resolution, complex model. And also many other factors like complexity, how much time, expert opinion, and who are the experts who will be able to use them. And of course, your objective as well. What is your objective? Are you interested to specifically look at very small scale study, but more detailed analysis if the data are available? Or are you interested to look at regional pattern and large scale processes and et cetera, et cetera? I think there is no one single answer. But this is a big question already, and I'm not sure if it's been already addressed in any of. So therefore, as Dave mentioned, I really like that answer. Perhaps more models in intercomparison rather than ranking them. Each comes with different strengths, like in SWOT. It has been addressed in literature that water quality, in terms of water quality, like nutrient simulation, when it comes to the terrestrial component, in connection to in-stream processes, it's one of the good performing models. But of course, I'm not sure about other models, but this model has really good capacity to enhance it. You can bring and embed different modules from or algorithms from different models. You can add and improve the performance of this model.
Okay,
But it has
so
its own limitations as well. So it's like a balance, what you are gaining versus what you're losing, depending on your objective. I think I don't have one single magic answer for this.
That was a great answer, Monterey.
Yeah.
I think Rehan has something to add.
yeah, same as Monera said that Mesh is also a open source model, and it's a community-based model, and everyone is developing the new modules depending upon the studies. So like when I was in GIWS, we have developed the irrigation module. Then there was a water management modules. Then there are blowing snow modules, which are the problems in the Canada. So we can build every new module and we can develop mesh according to the needs. So this is open source, and also you can interlink mesh with the other model. Like we have linked mesh with the Mortsim model. We have linked for the water management, and we have linked the. You can see that the mesh is also linked with the water quality which is mesh Wintra, which is for the purpose of water quality, and the water management is meshed with the Mortsim. So you can link, you can develop it. So it's an open source. I think it's all depend upon the study. So once we know that what are the shortfalls in the catchment, definitely we can develop that in every model, like in SWOT or in mesh. It depends. And it depends upon the funding too.
Always.
So I think we have the questions we want answered, and I'm going to, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to ask each modeler to fill out a little questionnaire of how their model could or could not answer each of those modeling needs for the basin. So
Sure.
I think you'll enjoy that, maybe.
Great. A test. We get a test.
Any other questions? All right, we'll take a 8-minute break and join back up at 2. Just stay online here and feel free to chat amongst yourselves freely. And we'll just wait for our next presenter to join.
Great.
Chayadai, if you want, you can share your screen now.
Sure, I will share my screen. Thank you, Steve. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that you in the picture?
I hope.
All right, we'll hold tight for 6 more minutes and then you are welcome to begin.
Sure.
Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, can I test with my presentation to share my screen?
Yeah.
You can't do that now.
Well, because I'm share.
Yep.
Yeah, Chayadai has to not share his, and then anyone can share theirs.
Yeah, give me a second.
I can stop sharing. Do you want to test?
Yeah, I wanna test
Okay,
with my
sure.
presentation.
Then I stop sharing for now. Yeah.
Yep, thank you. Does it work?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I did.
Good. Thank you. How's it going, Hugh?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Chayadi. This is Monterey.
Oh,
So this is impressive picture. I just couldn't stop myself asking this question. Is this you?
I wish. This is very beautiful photo actually. When you see this photo, you kind of relax, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, me too. Yes, I see, blue sky and then mountain with the snow and then biking. Oh, this is, oh, oh, this is actually GOA, one of the template, and is they include this slide for the front.
Okay.
Yeah, so which is good to use. Yes.
This is very nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, Chadi, this is Anil.
Hey, Neil.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
So my question about this photo is it is a photoshopped or this is a real
No,
picture?
this is a, I think, I don't know. Well, you have to ask the GOA guy.
Okay.
I think they have some kind of the, I guess the copyright too, I think. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, this actually come with the Alberta logo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So is that presenter is that okay to turn on the video?
Camera. Yeah,
that,
I think so.
okay.
It hasn't worked yet.
Hey, Hyung.
And
Hi. So Babak's presentation is included in yours one, or you guys need to switch in between?
we're gonna switch. We're
You
gonna
got
make a
switch.
presentation separately.
So actually, step there will be two other switches. After Chadi, Hyang will present, and then Babak will present briefly.
Okay, I think it's pretty simple to do. You just stop sharing and then start sharing.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So just wondering how long, like how much time I have, including I'm hoping to do a very short demo of the tool.
So
in question. Yeah.
Chadi, I think we have this 3 presentation, and I think we thought maybe 15 to 20 minutes for you, and then rest 20 minutes will be shared between Hyang and Babak. Will that work for you?
Also, each person 20 minutes, including
Like for you is about 20 minutes.
Okay, and then
and the rest 20 minutes can be shared by Hyang and Babak. So they will get like only 10 minutes each.
So we only have 40 minutes then.
40 yeah, 40, 45 minutes. That's what Steph said, right, Steph?
Yeah, you can go up to 50 to an hour. That's all good.
Okay.
And you can start, you can.
So if with that flexibility, depends on how quick my slideshow will go. And I will go, of course, quick as possible. And I'm hoping with the demo, I can finish in 25 minutes. Would that be okay?
Excellent.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You can go right ahead.
All right. Okay. Let me turn on my video. Okay. Can you see me okay, Emil?
Yeah.
All right. Next
Looking
good.
good.
Okay.
Good.
Good. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Chang, and I'm with the Alberta Environment and Parks with the Modeling Integration Team. Acronym is actually MIT, pretty prestigious. So anyway, I'm in Edmonton, and today I would like to present to you a tool. It's called Alberta Modern Expert System. And in this presentation, you are not going to see any equation, although it's a model related. No equation, no chart, and I hope it's still interest to you. And so basically, this MES that we developed is a tool that you're going to see. It's a platform. Actually, you can manage and share your modeling information and knowledge. And I'd like to thank Emil. Actually, Emil is actually in the very beginning of this project. He's very instrumental to this project, actually. Thanks, Emil. And this project actually started in the very beginning actually started about 7 years ago, 6 to 7 years ago. And from a prototype to now, it's actually operational tool now in the GOA. And currently, this tool is available to entire GOA, and it's not available to external partners or stakeholders yet. And we are actually in the process. Just 2 weeks ago, we made a request to Service Alberta, and then to make this tool available to external partner. And so you'll see, if you see this going to be interest to you, and you see the value, definitely that there's opportunity that we can give you the access, so you can start to query, or you can contribute your work to the system. Okay, so let's start. So the topic of my presentation, I'll give you some background and present some challenge of the modeling, and then some frequently asked questions in the modeling, and those are common sense. I'm sure for probably all of you, those are common sense, but still like to give you some background information. That kind of form the rationale that why we are developing this modern expert system. Okay, so and then I'll get into the briefly, what is MES, and then how does it work. Okay, and then talk about some benefit of MES, and then a lesson learned through the past 5-6 years. And of course, look into the future, give you some sense of what's the next step that we're going to do. And I'm hoping that I can actually give you the live demo of this tool, show you the major components, or give you some idea of what this tool all about. Okay, so background. Okay, so this is some commonly asked question when we come to the modeling. Okay, so personally, my background is hydrologist, and I doing some water resources modeling before, hydrologic modeling. And this is a question I always come to my mind when I do the modeling. So the first question is, what model should I use to meet my objective? Actually, it's quite relevant to our previous presentation. Actually, it was excellent work. And the question asked by Emil, and actually quite relevant. That's basically the same question. What model should I use to meet my objectives? And I think David mentioned that the objective is very important for your selection of the model. So I definitely agree that. So this is a question that the model need to answer. What should I use, right? And then once you kind of select your model, or you have to ask other questions for a specific area, for example, North Saskatchewan River Basin, and then you ask, what other work has anyone done anything, modeling work in the geographic area I'm interested in? Okay, it could be a sub-basin, it could be the entire basin, or could be the adjacent basin, whatever. And it could be other study as well, not just hydrology modeling. It could be air modeling, and it could be some groundwater modeling, or could be even if you want to be more more comprehensive. What's the biodiversity modeling, in this watershed, something like that. You may ask that question because some of the data information or knowledge generated from those projects may be quite relevant and useful for your modeling exercise. And also, the question also is asked is once you've done the modeling, okay, people actually store their model probably in their local computer or in some of their organizational shared drive, so other people can share. But it's not really a platform that easily to share across the entire, like for example, entire province or even entire country or entire whole world if you want to share. So how do I share my modeling result with others? Okay, that's kind of another question you ask. And once you decide a model, there's a third question here actually come, you have to ask that. Okay, you want to develop a model, do the modeling, and definitely need to have enough data to validate or to calibrate your model. After you calibrate, then you need to validate your model. And do I have enough data? What data are there available, right? And then once you answer that question, yes, enough data. The next question come to the modeler is, okay, where can I get the data from? Okay, and from different data sources. And then in what format? And we all know different organizations, they have different formats. So this is all the challenge that we need to answer. And the next slide just present to you some data preparation of doing the modeling. And we know that data in a different format, and you do need to reformat and then to turn into the we call it model ready input to your model. And then also sometimes you need to pre-process in your data, right? And then also post-processing as well. For example, from one model's output become another model's input, post-processing. And we know that the data preparation is time-consuming and labor-intensive and repetitive a lot of time. And sometimes for some parameter of data, you need to do it manually. And in that case, that's kind of error-prone. So all this challenge, right? All this challenge, that's a data preparation. As a result, I see if, say in a very conservative way, probably modeler traditionally will spend probably more than 70% of their time just or more just for data preparation, okay? And then 30% of their time actually they are focused on the running the scenario run, interpretation of their model result to decision makers, and this kind of actually really need a modeler expertise, right? And so with this, that we really want to reverse this trend. We hope the modeler can spend their most of the time on their expertise and then spend least of time for data preparation. And then the data, model ready data will be available to them as much as possible. And that's one of the goals here. Okay, so that come up with the why we are doing MES. Okay, so MES, you see the three components, and I'm going to introduce actually that there are four components here. So I mentioned several questions here that we need to answer. First, what model should I choose? So MES is a user-friendly, web-based GIS-enabled system that allows people actually to query very rich metadata. And metadata is, when I say metadata, it's about the model data. For example, your limitation, your your input information, your output format, who is the contact, all this kind of information, very detailed information for the model. And then you can actually compare model to model. I'm going to show you in my demo side by side, and then to see the capability of each model. And then you can actually, hopefully, this function can help the user to select a model when they come to the modeling exercise. So we call it a metadata catalog of the modeling tool. And then remember about the second question, frequently asked commonly question is that, okay, who else has done any model, right? And then where can I store my modeling result to share with others? And that's come to the second component. So MES, the second component is called repository of complete modeling project. Basically, you can package your georeference, actually georeference your project, could be a watershed boundary, can be a river segment, and could be a lake, just a polygon, or entire basin, or even entire province. You can actually georeference. So all the relevant information that you generate, or data input, or data output, or even picture, video, all this multimedia information can be contained in, we call it the a container, and that container actually georeference. So user can do the geographic search, draw a polygon, or use any polygon, draw a polygon, or use a textual search to find your information in the province, and then able to download your information if you wish to share with others. Okay, so that's the kind of second component. The third component come to another question: what data available, right? So MES also has very rich metadata catalog. When I say metadata catalog of monitoring station, that including air, land, water, biodiversity, that's monitoring station, and then you can actually see the parameter. Basically, I say metadata here is like okay, the location, location, station number, station name, that's the time period of your monitoring period, for example, 1970 to 2020, 2020, etc. This kind of metadata will be available for the entire province. Okay, so this was the before we have these three components. And just about 2 years ago, we started another new component. It's called Alberta Data Automation for Environmental Modeling, acronym is ADAM. And this component actually take further step. From here, the third component take further step. We go to the different authoritative data source. Okay, I use the term authoritative data source. We don't store any data. I mean, MES don't store any data. Okay, well, we store the metadata, of course, all this metadata in the SQL database and all that. But the source, the data, when I say the number, those numbers we don't store. We go to the authoritative data source to extract, okay, and then transform and load in, and then able to produce the output depending on the model you choose that will give you the model ready format for you to run your model. Of course, it's not 100%, it's progressing, and we're increasing the percentage of the supporting the model. And our goal is, if we can reach, give the model like a 70 or 80% of their model input. So the rest of them, they still need to do some their preparation, and that will be very good. And I'm going to show you some example later on. Okay, so with that, I quickly show you the vision of MES, and actually this come from Google. When you want to Google it, and then basically you want to know something, right? So you will Google it. For example, you want to know how to cook coconut rice or whatever. You just Google it. There's a whole bunch of recipe will come up for you. Okay, same idea. So vision of MES is one day people think of modeler, they will first come to MES. So basically, what it is, this is our vision. Okay, very short, just less MES. Okay, so people say, okay, it's acronym should be AMES because Alberta Model Expert System. We don't want to call AMES because then they pronounce it a mess. That's not good, right? So we actually took the A out, so actually MES. So that's MES, that become our vision for the future. Okay, so for example, there's someone's going to do the modeling exercise. Let's say in this case, in the Lizard Lake here, north of Edmonton, and in this area, so they want to find all the information, what project has been done or something. So they just search. So there's a whole bunch of information will be available to a specific project. As a member, if you remember, I just use the term that each project become a container and then contain all the relevant information depending on the modeler or the contributor you want to include in that container, and you're willing to share with others. Once you're in the container, that becomes searchable, and that become able people can download and contribute and comment on that. Okay, so that's kind of concept here. So this is the characteristics of MES. Basically, there's three characteristics of MES. One is innovation. Second is basically this integration things, and then it's collaboration. I'm getting a little bit detail what I mean. Innovation. Okay, so innovation here, we actually use all kinds of technology, including the GIS. You can see the start of the interface, and then going to MES is all web application. A lot of code actually behind the scene, about 250,000 lines of code, is written in different language to support different components. And then underneath, there's a whole bunch of database support. ArcGIS, the Genesis is GOA corporate geospatial database, and the EDW is enterprise data warehouse. That's all the time serial data, all the hydroclimate data, groundwater, surface water, water license, etc. is all there. ETW, and of course there's other data source as this go on. There's actually many there's other here as well. So basically from this structure, of course very simple, but I hope give the sense that actually MES is a lot of innovation in Korea, and has been developed over last 6 to 7 years. Of a lot of time actually we from the U of A co-op students, they are excellent, and some of them actually now working for Microsoft and then Google as well. So excellent. And we have a technology actually in our website there. If you go there, you actually see all their name there. They are all excellent. And then, for example, this is another innovation for the Alberta data automation for environmental model. So MES will provide, again, I say, if you know your area, and then in MES, you specify the model, which model you want to choose, right? And so far, the model list will go on, but so far we support 5 models here: MACSHI, SWA, and WMM is a water allocation model used mainly in the southern region, and MAXEN is a biodiversity model. SciChem is a US EPA's the air quality model. Okay, so this is actually support not just water, actually including the land biodiversity as well. And so first you select a model, which model you want to do, and then you specify geographic area. Then we call it the automation of the data extraction, transformation, and loading, ETL. And behind the scene, actually, this is another technology. It's called FME, the Feature Manipulation Engine. That's actually another company produced this Safe Software, Canadian-based company. So this is an excellent tool for data automation things without writing any code. You can do a lot of data automation here. Then it becomes spit out. It's a formatted model-ready data depending on the model you choose. So directly you can support a model. Again, here you see all this component here. This actually, that's what I say is the authoritative data source. Go to the different source to get the data, and then package in the data to support the model. Okay, that's another innovation. And next slide, integration. And today we are talking about water modeling, of course, very important. And then actually MES not just supporting the water, there's also air, biodiversity, land there. And then in the model there, we capture probably right now we have more than 300 models actually captured in our metadata, and water is the biggest one, probably over about 200 models, water model. Okay, and then air, biodiversity, land as well. For example, we have fishery model as well, health model there as well. So people actually they can choose depending on their discipline, right? And we know this area is not separate. It's actually they're interconnected, right? Okay, so the collaboration, we developed this application. We actually involve many times with the stakeholder, our stakeholder, because it's GOA application. So basically it's in GOA domain. And so engage people in the workshop and then consultation, and then give their input to improve the interface, software, etc. So we have all kinds of the application, the workshop as well. Okay, so so benefit, no doubt, this MES provide the platform, common platform, and then to help people and to manage and facilitate the necessary modeling data, information, and knowledge, and to support various business needs, right, for policy development, for planning, for operation. And I'm sure this definitely can be, if we share, can be shared by the academic as well. So we can expand to that realm as well. And then we really want to foster, improve the consistency in model selection. And this tool, I see this tool really is a collaboration tool, and is the goal is to share information with others, and other modeler can contribute their information, so people can share. And with the so data automation, that we also can eliminate the unnecessary repetition or laborious work, or error prone, and increase efficiency and effectiveness in preparation model input data. Okay, so lesson learned. So basically, all this actually the tool actually developed all in-house, right? All in-house, and so we have in-house capacity, and then we definitely see the continued engagement and the building relationship with the informatics, information management technology people is very important for this project, including the GIS people. And this really is a multidisciplinary team, because as I say, it's cross the discipline. People from different areas they contribute, and the tool itself is basically it's a forming the collaborative partnership. We definitely form that a lot with the others, and it's a big gain, and we need to continue to do that. And with that, and looking the future, I mentioned quickly already. So MES going to external partner and stakeholder in the near future, and then we'd like to continue to enhance MES modeling information and knowledge, and support more environmental model. And so far, I say we have 5, as I mentioned before, but we'd like to include others as well. And then any opportunity for collaboration, and then we definitely can work together. And then we really want to one day to make a further develop MES into the true expert system. The name right now is expert system, but I say that expert system is still in a very, very elementary stage. So I would say, well, we need to get into the true expert system by using machine language or artificial intelligence, etc. Okay, so these are some user testimony. I know it's actually in our website. And then, for example, Brian Makowicki, he's the executive director of our planning branch, of Alberta Environment Parks. He said the modern expert system support the core business of this department by ensuring the good work we undertake today can be leveraged tomorrow. And this is Shalini, and then he gives a long testimony here. Shalini is our water modeler in the planning, and the Terry Chamilet, and then he is one of our regional hydrologists, and he contributes to MES as well. So to contribute to MES, actually very easy. And of course, I'm not going to show you today, but it's actually, everything is actually quite straightforward, you see. Okay, thank you. And with that, I'm going to quickly show you maybe a few minutes what MES looks like. And so let me just, so you see the front page of MES. So basically MES is just, okay. Actually, I'm directly connected to our department server now. So you see there's monitoring station, all kinds of monitoring station right here, from hydrometric, meteorological, groundwater, ice monitoring, water quality, miscellaneous lake level, ABMI data, air quality, fishery, and all there. Okay, so you can actually query this, all this. Okay, I'm not the time to go through this. For this is a hydrometric station. Okay.
Yeah, we can't see it. I think you have to share your application.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. How do I do that? Maybe I can stop sharing and then, sorry, and then share again and share screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So this is a monitoring station, this hydrometric station, and just the meteorology station, etc. So the genesis layer, so you can have a genesis layer, watershed boundary, and on top of that. So anyway, this is many layer you can do. But actually, the bread and butter of MES is just right here. Okay, it's a model search, and then your project search, and then station change search, right? So for model change, you can, for example, model search, and then you can just type, for example, just water. I'm just type water, and then you probably will see a whole bunch of water come up. And okay, you see a lot of water come up. 202 model actually water come up. And the reason I show you this is, for example, you want to do the max sheet. Okay, max sheet probably is right here. Okay, so okay, so this is just as I say, this is metadata. Okay, this is a model search. For example, MaxSheet is here, so actually you can see very detailed information about MaxSheet. Okay, so MaxSheet here. So this MaxSheet includes the model parameter that you need, model information, computing requirement, this detailed information about MaxSheet in the tab here. So you can actually organize in this fashion, and then so it's detailed information here, right? And you can also compare the model to model. I don't have time to show you all this, but at least you can, for example, I want to compare this model. You can compare models side by side. Okay, just for example, I want to compare HMS, HSPF, and then EFDC, and then let's say another one, say MaxSheet. Okay, let's just select my sheet. Okay, then, oh, this doesn't work for that way. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to skip this now. I'm running out of time. So, but anyway, the thing is that you can actually see very detailed information, metadata information, model limitation, etc. And then you can compare the capability of the model. And then you can also, you know, the searching, let's say in a project, for example. Okay, let's search in a project. Let's say you want to do the in the North Saskatchewan River Basin, and you want to see what project has been done, and then you can just come here, and then different way to search. Let's just use the Genesis defined area, and then okay, so there's Genesis there, and I use say Alberta. I'm just the different way you can search, and so this is the North Saskatchewan River. You click here. Okay, you start to click, and then start to go to search, spatial search, and actually you're going to see the number of projects actually will be found. Okay, so you see this all the project has been found related to this project, and there's reason for that. They are selected because you click this boundary. There's a boundary here that's within the North Saskatchewan River that's been selected. And this one, for example, this project is called Develop the Hydrodynamic Water Quality Model for the North Saskatchewan River and between Devon and Pacan. And this more information, this done by EFDC, so you can click here to see more EFDC information, or you can click more information here, and you can see here who actually contribute. And actually it's Deepak, American, and Deepak, I don't know if he's in here, he's going to make presentation tomorrow, but this is a project that actually Deepak did and then contribute to MES, and that's been georeferenced. As I mentioned, this is a container, and then you can have all the detailed information of your project, and even including all the output, all the download. You can download a report. For example, this is a final report. So actually all the report is your fingertip, right? So this you can download all the this is an example of downloading the report. Okay, and so anyway, so and then another function is, so this is a final report actually by Deepak. So he actually uploaded, so now become available to everyone, can actually download from the website. And another one that's like you can, as I say, it's a monitoring station, right? You want to see the monitoring station. So there are 1,600 parameters for you to search. For example, hydrometric station, you can just type, for example, streamflow. Streamflow is just one of the parameters. We have about 1,600 parameters. You can actually search. So Streamflow, okay, Streamflow is here.
As awesome as this is, I think we might have to stop.
Okay.
And let
that.
That's okay. I can tell that you're excited as I am. This looks amazing.
Right.
So
okay, so I'm going to stop my Anyway, thank you. Yeah.
It looks awesome. So we have time for just probably one quick question as we're switching presenters here.
Okay. Stop sharing. Okay.
Hey, Chiadi, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So are these products, like from your for your tool, MES, is it available for everybody in the province, or is it just for the GOA personnel?
Right now, only GOA, as I mentioned, we are in the process to make this the internet application, so that we are not open to public yet, but internet application will allow external partner, for example, U of A or EPCO, for example, give you the password, so you need a login credential to log into the system, so you can use. Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Hyung Eum. I'm going to talk about the Alberta climate change modeling project. This project has been initiated in 2018, so this is the third year of this project up to now. So I'm going to talk about what we have done up to now and what we are working on currently. So many literatures, including the presentation in this seminar, reported that climate change may have induced some alteration in climatic and hydrologic regimes in Alberta, such as temperature increase, especially more clear increase during the winter season, and earlier snow melting, more frequent rain and snow driven event, and corresponding flooding events. Also, the projected decreasing in snow accumulation, and subsequently the summer decreasing in summer flow in the future. Also, a recent report published in 2019 projected some temperature increase of 2 degree under 1.5 degree global mean temperature increase, and 6 degree increase under 4 degree global mean temperature increase. That means Alberta is a place vulnerable to climate change. Also, the senior 6 climate projections have been recently released since last year. So we need to incorporate these up-to-date climate projections into predictive models to evaluate the climate change impact on terrestrial and aquatic systems in Alberta. This slide shows the schematic workflow of Alberta climate change modeling project. Mainly, there are 3 main tasks: the observed climate data set, selection of climate projections, and statistical downscaling method. So all these climate projections are incorporated into predictive modeling to provide the future projection. So firstly, we need a long-term reliable observable climate data set to be used for statistical downscaling method, as well as predictive modeling in terms of like parameter calibration and validation. We need the systematic approach to select representative climate projections in Alberta. So Dr. Farjad will give a presentation very detailed on this part after my presentation. Also, we need a statistical downscaling method to produce a high resolution climate projections for the suitable for predictive modeling. There are mainly two types of historical climate data, like the point-based data, such as the station data, and historical grid climate data set. Among them, the grid climate data set is more convenient to directly compare or evaluate the scale of climate models that provide grid-based output format. Also, it is more useful to prepare or to provide some meteorological forcing data set for grid-based impact models, such as the distributed hydrologic models. So grid climate data set is more the preferred to be used in climate studies. So I was considering the 5 different candidates available in Alberta, NSPLIN, Alberta Township, PNWNA meteorological data, CAPA, and data set. But still, we suffer from inconsistency in data accuracy due to the different density of surface network and the different time span, different spatial domain, and the different number of climate variables. In addition to these inconsistency, we have a key question that which one is most suitable for climate study or other impact study in Alberta. So we need this systematic approach to determine which one is the most suitable, which one is the most reliable climate data set to be used for impact studies. So I suggested a reference reliability evaluation system that consists of 3 modules: the performance measure, ranking, and data generation modules. Using this reference, I produced the hybrid climate dataset based on the ranking of 5 candidates I listed in the previous slide for daily precipitation minimum maximum temperature from 1950 to 2016 at 10 kilometer resolution. So on the top right, this figure, the figure that shows a spatial domain of hybrid climate dataset, which cover most of all major watershed in Alberta, including North Saskatchewan River Basin. So I validated this hybrid climate data set using the proxy validation, and I proved this hybrid climate data set can improve historical hydrologic simulation for the Athabasca River Basin using a variable infiltration capacity hydrology model. And we have a long-term reliable historical grid climate data set, and we need future climate projections. As the coupled model intercomparison project called the CMIP have been evolved over the last 5 phases since 1995. And it is now becoming a major international multimodal research activity. So as mentioned earlier, the CMIP6 climate projections have been released in 2019. So I compiled 12 historical runs from 1850 to 2014 and 41 climate projections from 12 global climate models for daily precipitation minimum maximum temperature. Also, Dr. Farjad selected 12 representative CMIP6 climate projections in Alberta, which captured the future extreme climate events, especially during the 2080s period. But unfortunately, it is too coarse to directly apply CMIP6 GSM's output for the watershed modeling because it has mostly 100 to 200 spatial resolution, which is not enough to reflect some on the climate variability within a watershed in Alberta. So I developed a new multivariate downscaling method, which is called multivariate bias correction distribution free shuffle, that preserve GSM-driven climate signals and interdependence between climate variables such as correlation between precipitation and temperature. So I also validated that this MBCDS improved the computational time up to 53% compared to existing methodology, and this MBCDS can improve the performance in various multivariate indicators. Especially it outperformed univariate downscaling method in snow-related processes. This slide shows like the monthly snow water equivalence simulations during a historical period from 1976 to 2005. As you can see, the snow water equivalent driven by univariate method represented by green color line underestimate observed this monthly snow water equivalent. But other multivariate downscaling method shows that the very good agreement with observed monthly snow water equivalent by the preserving interdependence between precipitation and temperature. So more details, the result and in terms of like an MBCDS algorithm and other detailed outputs can be found in an article published in Journal of Hydrology. Also, I applied the MBCDS for the selected representative 12 GSM, 12 CMIP6 GSM projections to produce daily precipitation and minimum maximum temperature from 1950 to 2100. Also, I calculated extreme climate indices of Alberta These two figures show the time series of annual maximum temperature and the annual frozen days from 1950 to 2100. As you can see, like annual temperature data set, annual maximum temperature data set, it shows a very strong upward trend, but downward trend for frozen annual frozen days due to global warming. Based on these 12 selected GCM predictions. So up to now that we have the several project deliverable. Firstly, we have a systematic climate data evaluation system called the Referees, and I produced hybrid climate, historical grid climate data set in the form of a CSV and the nested format. Also, we developed the multivariate downscaling method and produced the high resolution simulated climate projections for precipitation and minimum maximum temperature at 10 kilometer resolution. Also, we published 2 research articles from this project in 2019 and 2020. Only 3 variables like precipitation, minimum, maximum temperatures are available right now, but many watershed models require different combination of meteorological forcing data sets such as wind speed, relative humidity, solar radiation, etc., etc. So I would like to enhance the applicability of the hybrid climate data set by adding some essential meteorological forcing data set required for major watershed models. Also, I need to produce a high resolution simulated climate projections for the added meteorological forcings. And I'm now working on evaluating trend in historical and the projected precipitation and temperature in Alberta. Also, we need to incorporate these downscaled simulated climate projections to evaluate the climate change impact on hydrologic regimes in a watershed in Alberta. Thank you very much.
I think we have time for some questions, just a couple questions. Okay, no questions. I think we have one more presenter, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Babak. A bit background about myself. My background is in water engineering. My master and PhDs are in GIS and geomatics engineering. I completed my PhD in 2015 from the University of Calgary, and I joined AEP in 2017. So I'm going to present one of our in-house projects regarding climate scenarios, climate change scenarios, which is a novel approach to select climate change scenarios in Alberta and its major basins. So selecting climate change scenarios is difficult and challenging, and in order to select climate change scenarios, one option would be using all available GCM scenarios. But sufficient resources are seldom available for such comprehensive studies, and instead, researchers often rely on a limited number of GCM scenarios. And not only it's difficult to identify a recommended number of GCM scenarios, but also the number of available GCM scenarios is increasing at a rapid pace. For example, let's say if you have 60 GCMs, let's say each runs with an average ensemble runs of 5 with 3 scenarios for 2 time periods, 2050s and 2080s. This can result in 1,800 simulations only for one variable. So if we have, let's say 3 variables would be 5,500 simulations, and for our case, I mean, we are using ETCCDI extreme indices. There are 29 climate parameters, would be close to 100,000 simulations. So there is a need for a method to select climate change scenarios, of course. In the literature, we have different approaches to select climate change scenarios. One of the approaches is hindcasting approach. Climate performance is evaluated based on comparing historical model simulation with observation to select the best GCMs. And the other approach is clustering approach, which select representative of GCM scenarios from different cluster. And the third approach is envelope approach. The envelope approach selects GCM scenarios that capture wide range of simulated changes for a number of climate variables. So in terms of limitation, I would say hindcasting approach, the limitation is that the best performing models do not necessarily make the most credible projections of future climate. And so clustering approach also goes with very limited number of representative of clusters. And in terms of envelope approach, it works for only 2 dimensions. So this approach can be conducted manually in low dimensional space by visually inspecting scatter plot of GCM projections. For example, for 2 dimensions, let's say precipitation and temperature, mean precipitation, mean temperature, we can select GCM scenarios at the corner of the 4 quadrant of the scatter plot. So this approach has been used to select GCM scenarios in Alberta in 2005 by Barrow and Yu. They consider mean temperature and mean precipitation to select GCM scenarios. So as I said, the main drawback or limitation of this approach is that they identify GCM scenarios based on the mean state. When I say mean state, I mean the average of, for example, annual temperature and annual precipitation, which might not capture the ranging projections of climatic extreme, which is in direct conflict with the purpose of assessing extreme scenarios to be used in the context of impact studies. So one solution is to consider changes in climate extreme indices. For example, the 27 indices proposed by ETCCDI. So, but the problem is visually selecting GCM scenarios would not be feasible in such a high dimensional space. In 2015, Alex Cannon from PCAG developed a method, an algorithm to address this challenge, this problem limitation in order to select GCM scenarios in high dimensional space. The algorithm called KKZ, and we initially wanted to use this algorithm for our study in Alberta, but we find a limitation in this algorithm, which might result in 50% or 60% error in selecting GCM scenarios. So we tried to develop our more comprehensive method. We developed an integrated computational geometry algorithm. We developed 2 different geometry algorithms, QHAL and RDP. And we compare this algorithm with KKZ developed by Alex. And our method shows 100% accuracy to select GCM scenarios. So basically this method tried to find the envelope of the points in high dimensional space, and also try to use other geometry algorithms to optimize the number of selected GCM scenarios in high dimensional space. So based on that, we select GCM scenarios, extreme climate scenarios for Alberta, and we published a paper last year in collaboration with Environment Canada, Alex Cannon, and we are still working on some more, developing a comprehensive method to select representative of GCM scenarios for Alberta, and each major basin is Alberta, using an integrated geometry probability approach. And we are working on CMS 6, the updated climate scenarios for Alberta. Thank you very much.
All right, are there any questions? Let's give people a few moments to respond. All right, hearing none, I'll ask a question. Some of the earlier work that was presented on is showing a shift to earlier spring melt. You know, on your peak flows, you get your 600 cubic meters per second in May, June, July, and it shifts a little bit from there. And so it looks to me like we're optimizing these models, but when we ask what does it mean in terms of, you know, it doesn't really matter if there's a 2% or 4% difference in volumes of the river. What really starts to matter is from a perspective if there's a 20% decrease in volumes at different times, and if there's a subsequent water quality change that affects treatability, aquatic ecosystem health, or these other metrics. So I would take comments from anyone in terms of what is it, are we spending, maybe I wouldn't say too much time, but maybe too much of a focus answering those specific questions and less time focusing on management questions for which we need answers in terms of infrastructure upgrades, looking for different sources of water, understanding how this affects fish populations, understanding how it affects aquatic ecosystem health, algal production, those sorts of things. And I would welcome any comments on that. Hello.
Hi, yes, this is Hyung. I would like to the comment on your main question or your opinion. So uncertainty is like inevitable aspect in the climate study because we have a large, very considerable uncertainty in the climate projections. So the important thing is like we need to understand and we need to evaluate that uncertainty in our climate projections. Also, we need to evaluate that some tendency in any alteration or shift in key variables like precipitation temperature as well as the stream flow. This is the main indicator how we adapt to climate change efficiently.
Sure, I guess my question was to someone who's doing water management on the other end of the models, the variability to me doesn't seem that bad, but it seems to me for the modelers, the variability is too high. So you're optimizing this to reduce that uncertainty. So that was more my question is, are we starting to look at how we're actually applying the outputs of these models, and you know, are you evaluating, you know, is it good enough to start to make management decisions, and are we tying these into our management decisions now?
In my opinion, the quantity of uncertainty is not related to our systematic GCM selection approach. Still, we have like a mostly same amount of uncertainty in climate projections, but this algorithm can reduce some computational time to evaluate any climate impacts with the least number of climate projections that capture all the climate variability in the future. So still we have the same amount of uncertainty in our climate projections, but we can evaluate some same amount of uncertainty with the less number of climate simulations.
If I can add something into it. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So there are a number of things according to your question. So number one is that these RCP scenarios or these CIMIC 6 social impact scenarios. So where we are going, are we are doing business as usual? We are going towards the RCP 8.5, or we are reducing. So definitely there are changes. Because of this anthropogenic changes, the greenhouse gases, we have changes in the earlier snow melt, or the glaciers are shrinking, or we have an increased trend in the flows. So according to water management, we have to look at this increased trend in the flows, that how we can manage our city. Like you can see you saw this flood in the Calgary. So how much area is covered with the water? This flood induration model we can also run with these future climate scenario, and we can see in the Edmonton or the Alberta or other places that how much this induration area with these future scenarios. So then definitely we have to do this management. In any case, the flows are increasing and the timing are shifting from my point of view.
Are there any other questions?
I actually would like to add on top of this discussion. This is really impressive. So I think Steph and others, I think I'm just sharing what I think, my viewpoint, that the more we perform these examinations through different models and scenarios, with adding more process representation, the more we know that how much we don't know when it comes to the system, either it's in the past or in the future. And actually, I think when we know how much we don't know, this is a good thing, because we can plan more properly to actually adopt for all different alternative kind of conditions than picking a best model. And just like by purpose or by any reason, if that model just in any case is still uncertain and it doesn't provide us how much we don't know, which is that uncertainty, perhaps we cannot plan. And I think it's a good thing, even though we don't have very direct answer for future, that is the situation. But the more we know that how much uncertainty is there, the better we can perform for different conditions. I think that's the way how we should envision the modeling in general.
Right, thank you for that. So I think, as a precursor to this, we had put together a modeling workshop and a kind of a modeling need. So from a planning perspective, for whether it's water quality, stormwater management, source water protection, aquatic ecosystem health, some of the needs that we would want models to be able to do. And so we have that available, and I've sent it out to lots of you. I don't want this to just be a webinar series where we just talk about our models. I want to be able to look at it similar to the mess and say, okay, well, here are questions, which models can answer these questions? And as we develop a 5-year strategy for modeling in the basin, can we start to answer those questions and make sure that our models are aligned to answer those questions? Because these are questions that the managers and the land use planners are dealing with daily, and are trying to look at, okay, if we're shifting say flows or runoff coefficients to earlier in the year, what does that mean from a treatment perspective? What does that mean from an aquatic ecosystem perspective? And can we mitigate that and start to implement watershed planning to mitigate that? So I think this is a continual process, and this is just a state of modeling in the basin, but we're going to continue to ask those questions of how are we getting these models to link in, are we using the best models to answer those questions rather than models that maybe we are familiar with or which the data is available for, and if there's difficult questions that don't have the data to support them, then we have to change our monitoring systems to augment that data. And I think we heard from that earlier today when we're talking about a lack of data in the headwater regions. So if there are no other last comments, I think we can end this, and we have 3 more talks tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone join then. Again, we're going to be sending out these presentations. So I'll open it up for any last questions. Other than that, we can adjourn.
Steph, this is Anil. Thank you very much for organizing this webinar. I think it's excellent. So looking forward for tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll end it now, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your presentations.
Thanks.
Bye.